What's up, guys? Thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's recap and review Real Housewives of Orange County. This is season 19, episode 10. Girl, I hope Heather, after watching this season, realizes that Emily and Gina are not her friends. Okay? And I was happy that Shannon told Tamra, girl, my life has been better without you. Because Tamra needs to understand, girl, you can't keep doing the same thing and expecting the same results. That's insanity. Okay? Okay, but let's get into this review. So, I don't have a spicy corner for you guys, but I did do a standalone spicy corner. I'll put the thumbnail on the screen. Please check it out if you're interested. The link will be in the description box below. All right, y'all. So let's get into this. Like I said in the intro, I was glad that Shannon told Tamra, girl, my life has been better since I haven't been around you. Okay, now, was it mean? Yeah. Was it harsh? Yeah. But did I live for it? Yes, I did. Because sometimes you just got to let people know my life is better without you. Okay, so, and that really didn't happen until the end of the episode. Throughout the episode, seeds were being laid, okay? So the episode opens up and we get B-roll footage. You got Heather opening a bunch of boxes from Fendi that she ordered. I like that bucket hat. I was like, that's a cute bucket hat. Mind you, Terry saw the bucket, not the bucket hat. Well, he did see the bucket hat, but he saw the boxes. He said, girl, just endless boxes. I said, well, she can spend your money, so let's do what it do. So then you have Jen and Ryan and her youngest child washing that fugly looking Cybertruck. When I tell you Cybertrucks are ugly, they are ugly. And it causes like a visceral response out of me when I see them. Like they just ruin my whole day. I remember being on the highway coming from a doctor's appointment and there were like, it was an 18-wheeler and I think it was like 4 or 5 of them. They were tan. Like I was like, ew, they make them in tan? Like there's not like I know people get Cybertrucks because it's like a status symbol or like a political statement for some people, not all people, but I know it for some it is a status symbol and I'm just like it's not attractive. Like you don't look sexy getting out of a Cybertruck whether you're a man or a woman. It's ugly. It is like such a fugly car. So ugly. Mind you, I would get in a Charger, and I hate Chargers. I hate them things. I hate Chargers. Oh my gosh. I lived on a military base. That's all you saw, and I couldn't stand it. But I'm telling you, I will get in a Charger before I ever get in a Cybertruck. Okay? I will walk rather than getting inside. They're so ugly, bro. So ugly. So we get that. So then the scene that with the episode like officially opens with Shannon and her older daughter that we saw last episode. I think her name is Sophia. No, I think her name is Sophie and Tamara's daughter is Sophia. But basically, we saw her daughter last episode, and so they've been hanging out. They're down at like a health spa. Shannon's getting Botox, and the daughter is getting a facial, so she's like super excited. Shannon says, she encourages her daughters to do like more natural anti-aging treatments instead of, the cosmetic route like she did, because you can get yourself in a bind. And they flash across the screen, her getting sued and having to pay John $71,000, okay? So while she's sitting in the lobby waiting for her daughter, she gets a FaceTime call from Tamra. And you could already tell in Shannon's like body language, she not really happy. She like, hey girl, like, okay, hey. And so we find out that Tamra wants to invite Shannon and Gina and Jen to a private resort on this vineyard to like hang out just for 24 hours in Temecula. She was like, there's this huge, beautiful house that we'll be staying in and like we could just have a good time. She was like, I figured because we had a good time last time in New Orleans, we continue to have a good time now. And so Shannon doesn't say yes and she doesn't say no, but she's just kind of like, okay, girl. And she was like, in her confessional, I want to hang up the phone on her. But she trying her best to turn over a new leaf and like present herself as a different person. So I'm trying. But she was like, honestly, the issue with Tamra is you don't know which Tamra you're going to get. Like, am I going to have the fun Tamra that I had down in, New Orleans where we're just dancing, laughing, or am I gonna get the Tamra who cusses me out and like calls me out my name? Like it's not fun, So she gets off the phone and Shannon is just like, you know what? There's some things I really have to think about. The next thing we have is of Emily and Tamara meeting up at this boutique. Emily's looking exhausted because we find out that her daughter does competitive cheering. So does Gina's daughter. And they actually met each other at the competition and were able to sit and watch both of their children compete. But she was like, you know, I'm just tired because they had to be at the place at 8 a.m. in the morning, which means we had to wake up at 5. I had to get her together, her hair, her makeup. And then we had to be in the car by like, you know, like 6, 7 something to be on the road so we make it on time. And Tamara is like, you know, I know, because she got kids, so she was like, she understands. So Emily has a new confessional. I like this one way better. This new confessional and Shannon's new confessional, they both look great to me. Like, Shannon's the best overall. This is the first confessional like this season where I was like, oh wow, like y'all did that. She looks good to me. Very good. And so Emily looks good too, but I wonder when this confessional was filmed, because she looks skinnier, like she lost a little bit of weight, and she doesn't look as tan. So I wonder if the black outfit was filmed before or after this one right here. So we see a flashback of her talking to her daughter. Basically, Emily says, you know, doing, you know, the cheer competition stuff is exhausting, but she wants her children to know that she cares about them individually and she cares about what they care about. And she's not just focused on Luke. I will say though, like the way her daughter was like, I need you to fold my clothes. Like, I was like, I don't think she meant it to be rude, but I was like, can she not put a please behind that? You know, I also feel as though Emily coddles all of her kids, but like in different ways. I'm just kind of like, your daughter could fold her own clothes, just like she could probably get herself up at 5 a.m. if this is something that's important to her, you know? But we can also see that there's tension brewing between the children and show us a flashback of them kind of arguing with each other. And it didn't seem like intense, but you can tell that like she's annoyed by her brother, like very annoyed. So we then also get this scene of Shannon, Jen, and Gina meeting up at this restaurant, and they are talking about how Emily and Gina were hanging out for the competition shows and, like, you know, the cheerleading competition. Gina says, you know, I don't really like it, but my daughter loves it, so I'm gonna support her. She was like, Emily used to be a cheerleader, so she enjoys it, but, you know, my daughter's really good at it, and she has a good time, so I'm just gonna support my kid, as you should. So while they're sitting there, Jen brings up how, you know, Tamara called her to come hang out, to go to Mecklenburg. I was like, to Mecklenburg. I was going to say that. Temecula, okay? So Shannon basically tells Jen and Gina, girl, I don't know if I'm going. Like, I didn't answer Tamara. I didn't tell her yes or no, but like, I don't know if I'm going. She was like, I actually, like, after getting off the phone with her, I talked to my therapist about it. And she basically told me, like, if you don't want to go, you don't have to go. Okay. But I told her, if I don't go, or if I tell you guys I'm not going, y'all were going to try to persuade me to go. So then the scene switches back over to Emily and Tamara, and Emily and Tamara are talking about, you know, Tamara's trip to Temecula. So she's telling her, like, you know, I called Shannon to invite her, but then Tamara does what she always does, is she jabs at somebody. She was like, you know, when I called her, the girl was looking a hot mess. So then when they flash back, like, Shannon don't look that bad. She said something about her titties being all out. And I'm like, girl, the shirt was like my shirt, like up to here almost. You know, the neck might be a little lower and you could see part of like Shannon's skin. And Shannon was like, oh, my bad, it's my bra. And she fixed herself. And it's like, well, Tamara, would you want to be friends with you? Because that's another thing that I don't think Tamara like asks herself, or her therapist, which I don't think is a good therapist, asks Tamara, like, think about who you would want to be friends with. Do you genuinely think that you would want to be friends with you? And I bet you Tamara would say no. But then again, she full of herself. She might say yes. She might say yes. So they laugh about it. And then Tamara says in her confessional, she knows last year she was harsh. Like, she was harsh and very mean towards Shannon. But she doesn't feel like they should throw away a 10-year-old friendship because, you know, it is a deep friendship. And my thing about it is, if the friendship was that deep, then you would have handled her differently. I don't get me wrong. I do think that Tamra did make some points last season when it came to Shannon. Like, girl, you ran your car into somebody's house. Like, you got lucky that there was like a barrier there that stopped you. But if that barrier had not been there, you would have been sitting in them people's living rooms, and you might have killed two people or maybe one person. You never know who was at home. So I do think that Tamra constantly saying like, girl, you always getting drunk and you tell people and you say things about people when you're drunk. I do think she was telling the truth about Shannon. I do. Because everyone has said the same thing, that Shannon will call you up. She'll be drunk as hell on the phone and she just starts rambling. The same thing that Robin said about Karen, and look what happened to Karen and look what happened to Shannon. So I do believe Tamra. But if someone is really your friend and you say you care about them deeply, then you would handle them a different way. And you did not do that. You basically like you really degraded that lady. Like, you were going in on her every chance you got, Tamra, and you think she still want to be friends with you, and then to put emphasis on like, we've been friends for 10 years. Clearly that didn't mean anything to you, because if you cared about that 10-year-old friendship, like I keep saying, you would have handled that lady differently, and you didn't. You took pride in like tearing her down. Like, you were happy to tear her down, okay? So then she basically says to Emily, well, she basically told me like, okay, thanks. Like, she never said yes, she was coming, or no, that she was coming. But she's like, honestly, she wants to move forward with Shannon. She says this in the confessional. She was like, but I just need her to stop holding a grudge. And I'm like, girl, if I was her, I'd hold a grudge against you too. So then it goes back to Shannon, Gina, and Jen. And basically, Shannon is like, where I'm at with Tamra, I'm fine with. I'm able to coexist with Tamra, and that's just it. So then Jen and Gina were just like, girl, just come with us. Like, we will have a good time. We will make sure you have a good time. Like, it will be fun. Like, we will make sure, Shannon, it's fun for you. And I was like, I don't think you'll be able to do that. I don't think you will. So then it goes back to Tamra, and Tamra basically says that Shannon is like a very tough nut to crack, but she's hoping that by bringing Jen and Gina, maybe that will help mend their relationship, because she's like, me and Jen are in a better place. And she said Gina can be the mediator. Gina's in her confessional saying that like, girl, I need a buzzer so I can like, hit it anytime somebody says something out of bad. So then Gina is just like, Shannon, just come. We'll make sure you have a good time. So the next thing we have is of Heather. She's doing her podcast, and her guest is Dylan Mulvaney. If you don't know who that is, she is a trans woman. I remember she got famous, I want to say like back in like 2021 or 2022, because she was doing like 365 days of a woman, where she was documenting her transition. She's written, I think, like 1 or 2 books about her life and about transitioning and being trans. She's also done music. We see in this episode, Heather was a part of her music video, and she has been like featured in like different magazines and on red carpets and things of that nature. So we find out that Dylan and Heather became friends through social media, and then I think they actually met at one of Kathy Hilton's like Christmas parties, and ever since then they've been friends. Kathy Hilton and Dylan are actually cool and things of that nature, but they also talk about like how terrifying and how scary it could be for parents, especially parents of like queer and like trans children in this country. And Dylan talks about how like it's great to see Heather take care of her kids and be there for them. And Heather talks about how it is important for her, to be there for her kids. She was like, I have 4 different kids with 4 different like genders, 4 different sexualities. And she was like, I know my kids are fortunate enough to have me, but I know that's not everybody's case. And she was like, and if I can help, like, I guess, breed awareness in a sense, and also be a part of the change of making sure these children have an ability to grow up and just like everybody else's kids, then I want to do that. So I think that's important to showcase on this show. I will say it is weird, like Heather does do all of this stuff with like being a part of these organizations, but yet she seems to have like this casual friendship with Gretchen. And based off of the things that Gretchen has liked about trans people, knowing that Heather has a trans son, I don't know if I could be friends with that person. Now, we know that Heather and Gretchen aren't like friends, but there is a level of like they like each other. And I'm like, Heather, girl, It couldn't be me. not you not gonna be a part of the people that want to hurt my child. I can't do it. But I do think it's important that she uses this platform because we do know a lot of conservative people watch Real Housewives of Orange County, and I hate the fact that conservative people like to act like other people don't exist. Like it's something new in the sun that trans people exist when they have existed for centuries. Like you can actually type up like the history of transness and it dates back centuries. Like those people existed. It's not something that just popped up. So I do think it's important to give those people a platform to say their piece and, speak. Okay, so then we leave that scene and we have Emily and Jen. They're at this animal shelter. Jen is like, I might come back with a dog or two. We find out that she's been fostering animals for like 12 years and she just loves it. We actually see them clean up the cat like area. That's one of the reasons. Like, I don't think cats are bad, but it's like the litter box thing. Like, I've pet sat a couple of cats for my friends, and I'm just like, cleaning the litter box is disgusting. I'm sorry, it's so nasty. So nasty. But both Emily and Jen are like, this is nothing compared to like, them having kids and the things that they have to clean up with their kids. Jen even talked about how Dawson threw roly-polies on her peanut butter sandwich. I said, girl, that's like, do he hate you? Like, why would he do that? So they leave the cat room and they decide to go outside and play with a few puppies. While they're playing with the puppies, Jen ends up asking Emily, so how have you been with Luke and all of that? And Emily's like, it's been rough. Like, it's really been rough. She was like, me and Shane aren't really on the same page. She was like, honestly, I've been trying to help regulate Luke's emotions, but I will be honest, I am coddling him, because I really don't know what to do, but I just know that he's struggling. So this is what I think I should be doing. She said they've talked to a therapist and the therapist was like, he only feels connected to Emily in the house. And she was like, Shane isn't really warm and fuzzy. He really feels like by coddling or hugging on Luke when he's having a bad mood, it's like you're rewarding bad behavior. And they do show a flashback where it looks like they were at like a family dinner and Luke, I guess, was tired or acting like he was tired. And Emily was like, come on, like sit up. And then Shane was like, it's fine, just ignore him. And I was like, well, you can't ignore everything. And so she's just like, it's a lot. It's a lot right now. And she also said that he can tell that his brother and sister are irritated by him. And I'm like, well, so here's the thing. And because I guess I'm trying to put myself in the sibling shoes, because if I felt like my sibling was putting on or egging it on, I would be irritated by you. Like, I would be like, girl, and then the way that the parents are acting, that would also irritate me. So I can understand why the siblings are like, yeah, I'm over him. Like, I'm over it. But like I said before, I just feel like at this point, if we're not going to see them take Luke to therapy, or we're not going to see Emily or Shane in therapy, or just Emily in therapy, trying to find ways to assist their son, I'm over the storyline, okay? Because it doesn't seem like we're going to get any resolution. And a lot of people are very irritated with Emily with this storyline. Most people feel like she's using her son. I'm in the middle because I feel like if this is her reality, why not share it? We've seen other parents on these shows share their children's reality. Like Shamia was sharing her reality about her daughter being disabled and the struggles she had to deal with that. Mary talked about her son being on drugs, and we were seeing that right now in real time. Earlier seasons, Lisa Rinna talked about her children having eating disorders. So I'm just kind of like, is it wrong? I guess maybe. Like, because there does come a point where it does become exploitation. But then I'm like, but if this is what she's dealing with, like, we always say we want the real, but this is real. I don't know. I get the argument on both sides where people are like, turned off by it. So I'm not saying if you are, you're wrong by any means, because like I can understand that, but I'm also just like, well, if this is her reality, like I don't know. That's where I'm in the middle and I don't know. So she also says that the other twin, Kyler, I think that's his name, or Kaylor, basically said, Mom, can I go to therapy? Because she was like, I don't really have anyone to talk to. And Emily starts to get emotional where she's just like, I have been focusing all my attention on Luke. And she was just like, I actually didn't realize how like detrimental that was to my other children. She was like, I was wrong. And that's why I don't think this is like for a storyline, because I feel like for a storyline she probably wouldn't admit that, but who am I? But she was just like, I was wrong. Like, I thought by focusing on him or my other kids being okay that they didn't need me, but they do need me. They just need me in different ways, and I have to do better. So I thought that was nice that she realized that. But also I'm like, why would you think your kids wouldn't need you? I don't know, Emily. It does give like a bit of like overcompensation with Emily because of how we know she grew up with like her and her siblings being like latchkey kids. Like, their mom really didn't come home because she was a single mother taking care of them, trying to work all these odd jobs, that I feel like she coddles them to a certain extent. And it's just kind of like, girl, like, how do you forget you got other kids? I don't know. Like, I don't know. So Jen, I think, gives good advice where she was like, girl, if your son needs to go to therapy, take him to therapy. She was like, sometimes as a parent, you'll have the answers and other times you won't. And you shouldn't beat yourself up about it. But if like your child is asking to go. She was like, your main goal is to make sure you raise these boys into adults who can take care of themselves and who are okay mentally. And I thought that was sound advice. So the next couple of scenes we have is everyone getting ready for their prospective trips. So we see Tamara and Sophia in Tamara's closet. And I like Sophia because Sophia be calling her mama out and be clocking her mama's BS. So she was like, so where are y'all going? Because you always going somewhere. She's like, well, we're going to Temecula and I invited Jen, Gina and Shannon. And she was like, Jen's really coming? And she was like, yeah. And she's like, okay, that's good. She was like, I'm glad y'all like made up and stuff. And she was like, well, Shannon's coming and she's kind of been hot and cold with me, but I got her this book. And the book says How Not to Be a Miserable Cow. And then she opens up the book and she was like, oh, it has big letters. And Sophia was like, so what's the point of this? So she was like, that's being very passive aggressive and bitchy. She was like, so not only are you telling her she's a miserable cow, but now you're saying she can't read and she old. Yeah, that's crap. like she was like, you're so petty. You're so petty. So then we see Gina and Travis, and she's getting like ready as well. And Travis was like, you don't always got to buy new stuff when you going on a trip. And she was like, but it makes me feel better. So she's like, I just want to make sure that there's nothing that really goes down. She was like, Tamara's relationship with Shannon and Jen is like very, like, the relationship is very fragile. And she's like, I just want to help like kind of like mend things. All we need to do is make sure that Tamara don't say nothing to like offend or piss off Shannon. And Travis was like, that's kind of her MO, girl. That's her MO. But she was like, also, I told Tamara, you have to choose better words. And also, you can't be chastising her when you also kind of contribute to the behavior that you chastise. So they pretty much flash back to like a week later where Gina is telling Tamara, and it looks like they're at like a botanical gardens or a place to pick up flowers. And she's like, last year you really were coming at Shannon. You kept talking about her drinking and things of that nature, but yet you pull her away to get a cocktail in New Orleans. Like, what sense does that make? So then they flash back to when they were in New Orleans and you see Tamara say, hey, come on, you're going to buy me a drink. And she was like, I feel like you're encouraging this behavior. And Tamara was like, what's wrong? Like, she was like, I know that's Shannon's love language. We always would go get a drink and go get something to eat. So that's the only reason why I did that. And she's asking Gina, like, why are you upset about that? And Gina was just like, I kind of see her creeping back into old patterns and I don't want that to happen for Shannon, So she's just like, I just hope we have a good trip. She's like, I'm worried, but I hope we have a good trip. We also see Emily and Heather. Heather ends up FaceTiming Emily, basically asking her like, hey, do you want to come to my place? You and Gretchen, since we didn't get invited to the Temecula trip, and we have a a sleepover, a grown-up sleepover. It's only, for the 24 hours. And Heather's whole thing is like, she knows that Tamara's been on like this apology tour, and she was like she can have it in Temecula. We gonna do this right here. But she also knows that Emily has been going through a lot dealing with her son, so she wants to help her out. And she just was like, she wants to have a good time with her. So Emily's like, yeah, I'm down. She was cool with Gretchen coming, and that's where they're at. So we see Gretchen and Emily in the car on their way to Heather's place, and Emily pulls out this bottle of Fireball. Mind you, I love Fireball, okay? One of my favorite drinks, and I make it normally throughout the holidays, is this like cinnamon toast crunch drink where you can either use Kahlua, which I don't like. I normally like to use rum chata, but rum chata, Fireball, and then you get cinnamon toast crunch, and you like sugar the rim of like your glass or maybe your shots, and then use crushed up like cinnamon toast crunch and drink it. It's so delicious. It's so delicious, bro. It's so good. And I love it. Okay. We used to do them for shots. Sometimes you can just drink it as is, but as a shot, I'll tell you, you take at least 4 or 5 of them, you gonna be on your ass. But it's gonna be a fun time. It's gonna go down sweet. So, they're laughing. Gretchen is like, look, I started drinking Fireball. It might get a little ugly here. We might need to be a little careful. We see the other women in the car as well, like I said, and they have finally made it to Temecula. The house is beautiful. On their way there, Shannon shows that she's missing like a side tooth, like the cap fell off. She also is talking about how her dad used to own like an avocado farm or wanted to own an avocado farm. Like, she's just rambling at this point, and they all think it's funny. They get to the house and they all get like their own rooms. There was a room that had a bunk bed in it, and I thought like Tamara was going to be shady and put Shannon in there. But no, she decides to give Shannon the primary bedroom, and Shannon feels uncomfortable because she's like, I don't need the primary bedroom. We also find out why Shannon had 2 bags, because everybody else had 1 bag, and one of the bags in it had all these kitchen items. Like it had ingredients, spices, like mixers, like pots and pans. And I'm like, Shannon, and everyone else is like, yeah, girl, you're only going to be here for 24 hours. Why do you need all of this? And she was like, well, I want to have a breakfast a certain way. And Gina says, girl, we're getting a front row seat into the mind that is Shannon Bedore, and it's a little scary. It's a little scary, okay? So then the other women make their way to Beverly Hills. They finally make it. Heather has this really cute guy that's a butler. She has the canopy bed set up really nice. She also has a bunch of food items. Like there's like I think like a candy bar, and then she had like an hors d'oeuvres bar. It was really nice. So they sit down in the living room and they start telling Heather how they were psychoanalyzing Tamara on their way to Beverly Hills. And I do understand the argument of like, Heather lives in Beverly Hills, not OC. So why isn't she on Beverly Hills? But I don't know. I always say like, if you take Heather away, then OC isn't going to be fabulous because we don't have somebody that has money. It's like you always need at least 1 or 2 people on the cast that has wealth. Like, because if they don't, it's like, what was the point of the show? Because the basis of the show was rich women and like their life behind the like gated community. Like, I just don't want to watch regular people. If I wanted to do that, I could watch something on WE TV or VH1. Or I could watch a different show on Bravo. Okay, like some The Valley or, Summer House. I don't know. But I'm just like, I get people wanting to take Heather away, but I'm like, leave her. Okay? So they were like talking about how Tamara isn't really like, I don't think they were like, they don't think she ever grew up as a girl's girl. They also bringing up Jen's picture, saying that she did that out of insecurity of her own. And so Emily tells Heather like, Jen was really upset about that picture, and they flash back to when they were at the shelter, and you have Jen being like, I just don't know why she would show a fat photo of me. And I'm like, Jen, you do know. And Jen's starting to irritate me with this whole fat photo situation is because Tamara already gave you an answer. She basically said that she showed the photo to prove to Heather that pretty much you are trying to be like her. Like, you didn't look the way you look 2 years ago that you look like now. And she feels like you're trying to morph into her. She did that to be mean. She did that to ridicule you, to embarrass you, and to be malicious. So I don't know why she keeps asking Tamara, because I'm like, do you think she's going to give you a different answer? Because she's already told you, I did it because I at the time I didn't like you and I wanted to make fun of you or embarrass you. And I think what Jen really wants from Tamra is for her to like feel some type of shame, but I don't think you ever gonna get her to feel that way or feel bad about what she did because it's Tamra, you know? So um Emily basically says she thinks that Jen is going to bring that up to the group because she's really upset about it. Heather was like, honestly, when she showed me the pictures, she was just trying to give me a comparison. But then you have Gretchen in the confessional being like, well, we get it. Like, Heather does not want to litigate, her relationship with Tamra, but she'll do it to anybody else's relationship because she likes Tamra and she wants to be friends with her. But it's getting annoying now. And I was like, I have to agree. So Emily ends up saying, honestly, I think they're gonna bring it up. I think Jen's gonna bring it up because they're not in a good place. Heather basically says she doesn't agree with the assessment that Emily gave that Jen will bring up the photo situation, but I disagree because I was like, even if they didn't show Jen bringing this up, the fact that Jen keeps harping on it, we knew she was gonna bring it up. We knew that. So then we go back to Temecula and we see that the girls are like bike riding to the vineyard. It's like an old bike with like a sidecar. They're all screaming and giggling and laughing about it and like having a fun time. Shannon's kind of over the women constantly trying to hook her up with somebody or pointing out like, ooh, girl, he's single. You might want to talk to him. She's like, let me just live my life. And I'm with Shannon. They get to the vineyard. It's really pretty. And they're like sitting down because they're going to do a wine tasting. We then go back to Beverly Hills and Heather basically says, as they're walking on Rodeo Drive, she was like, look, I got my husband's black card. I'll buy y'all something. And I'm like, girl, don't tell me that because we can run up a bag. So they're like, yo, you gonna buy me a Birkin? And she said, girl, no. And then I think Emily said, we could go get some Van Cleef jewelry. Like, what we doing? Like, what are we doing? So then as they're walking, they notice the paparazzi and this lady comes up and she's like, I can tell you that she did not call the paparazzi. Emily was like, so her assistant called the paparazzi. She was like, no, I know the person that took the picture. And girl, they took they took the picture. It was very candid. I don't know if I believe that. I don't know if Heather set this up or not. I don't think it's that deep when it comes to the picture. But Heather's talking about she vindicated. I'm like, girl, I don't know because Emily and Gretchen are not buying it. But I thought it was kind of funny. And because Heather's like, thank you for this. And I'm like, girl, shut up. Shut up. So we then see them go to this really nice restaurant. I would have liked to try their smoke. I think it was it smoked tuna cigars where it basically looked like they wrapped up tuna in spring rolls. And then at the bottom to make it look like a cigar, they put like caviar and they present it to you in this really cute box. Gretchen said it was delicious. Emily didn't want to try it because she doesn't like caviar. But before they got that and ordered their food, you have Emily basically saying that she wants to see Gretchen let loose. She's tired of seeing the perfect Gretchen. She wants to see the Gretchen that, will show her hoo-ha. And like they show last season where Gretchen got she was doing the cabaret or the Pussycat Dolls. And I guess you could see her coochie when she was spinning around the pole. I don't know. But I was like, okay. I do think it's kind of weird when people want to see other people like the mask fall. But because here's the thing, when I know it's a mask, I don't really care. It's one thing if I know it's a mask. It's another thing if I don't. Like you have seen Gretchen when she gets wasted. You've seen Gretchen when she's all pulled up prim and proper. So it's like, even though she is acting like perfect, like I'm a Stanford country girl wife, we know Gretchen gets white girl wasted and shit faced it. So it's like, if I knew that, I wouldn't need to like get my friend to let loose or be like, hey, let's take shots to see them turn up. It's because like I know that that's them. Do you get what I'm saying? You might not get what I'm saying, but that's what I'm saying. So we get back to the vineyard and Tamra's being weird and she's actually being quite obnoxious and she makes you not want to be friends with her. So they're sitting at the table, they're eating and drinking, and like as they're sitting there, Tamra's like, do you like me again, Shannon? And Shannon is like, can you not do that? Like, gosh, like I'm already feeling a little uncomfortable and I'm trying to like go with the flow. And then you hear Tamra be like, and Jim likes me too, like a goober. And I was like, Tamra, chill out. Like, chill. And you can tell that both Shannon and Jen are kind of like irritated by Tamra. And you have Gina in her confessional being like, I'm so annoyed watching her F this up. Like, just sit there and drink your wine. Because it's like, Tamara is like egging it on, like it's weird. It's like, girl, shut up, like be quiet. Just be happy that they came, okay? So then, Tamara is like, I'm so happy that you like me now, Shannon. And Shannon's like, okay, you're making me feel really uncomfortable. And so then we find out that, Gina doesn't really drink, but she wants to like swish the wine in her mouth and then put it in a spit bucket. They start talking about the Haktua girl, and Shannon is like, what's that? They all explain it to her, and she was like, my God. Like, then in the confessional, they were like, you don't hawk too, so you swallow. And she was like, I swallow drinks, but like, I don't be swallowing, you know? So we get back to the girls in Beverly Hills. Like I said, they're eating their food. And Emily ends up asking Heather, what's so different about living here in Beverly Hills versus Orange County? And she was like, I've been into a lot of acting classes. She was like, it's been a lot of fun. I've been doing improv. We actually see Heather doing like a musical called A Million Owls Away. It looks like, some off-Broadway kind of show. And I think she was really good. Heather to me could star in like Parks and Recreations, like Abbott Elementary type of like comedy shows, or like a movie. There's this movie about Pillsbury. If I can remember the name of it, I can't remember the name of it, but if I can remember it, I'll put it in. But it's like a satire. It's about like all of the like breakfast corporations going at each other. So you have the people that make like strudels, like the pastries, like Eggo waffles and all of this stuff. And what's his name? His name is Ben something. I can't remember his name, but you got Jackie McCartney in the you have her in the movie. You also have like prominent like comedy actors in the movie that I feel like Heather would do well there. Even though some of the girls was hating, because we go back to the women that are in Temecula, and I think either Shannon or Tamara revealed, no, I think it was Shannon that revealed that Heather was taking comedy classes, and everyone was like, I can't see Heather being funny. Now, Terry is one thing, and I feel like they was hating, because I was like, Heather does have kind of like this kind of dry sense of humor that people eat up. So we go back to the women that are in Beverly Hills, and Emily basically tells Heather that she was like, Jen asked me what I thought about you pacifying Tamra. She was like, I think you're scared. Like, she was like, because she thinks you're scared of her. And so Heather hit that Uno reverse on Emily, because she was trying to get like Jen in trouble. And she was like, so what was your response to that? And Emily kind of made it first like, oh, well, I think I said that, yeah, I think you do. I think you pacify her. And when they do the flashback, it is Emily saying that she believes that Heather pacifies Tamra because she doesn't want to get into it with her, because she doesn't like or can't deal when Tamra gets aggressive. And so Heather responds to that by saying that's bullshit. She was like, I'm the only person after we came back from New Orleans that told Tamara that she felt like she threw us away when she left the trip. And they do the flashback, and Heather was telling Tamara about herself. And so Heather's in her confessional saying like, I don't get why everyone keeps saying I'm scared of her. And she was like, when we did the lie detector test, she was like, yes, I said that like in that moment I was scared of that behavior, but overall, am I scared of her right now? No. And she says like, everyone keeps thinking I'm scared of Tamara, yet and still I was the only person that told Tamara how I felt. Like, everybody else is all bark and no bite. Like, when they get to Tamara, all of a sudden they want to hug on her and like, I'm sorry, but yeah, y'all couldn't tell her how you felt. Like, what are we talking about? Like, scared of her for what? So then we go back to Temecula, and we see that the girls break up into pairs, where Jen and Shannon go walking in the vineyard, and Gina and Tamara do the same thing. Shannon ends up falling because in the area that they're in, it's a bunch of like divots and stuff, and she has on boots. It was kind of funny. Jen is trying to help her up. So then we see Gina and Tamara have a conversation, and she was like, how do you think it's going with Shannon and Jen? And Tamara is like, Shannon just like, she's so flinchy and so finicky. Like, she don't really want to, like, I don't get why she don't want to just move on. Gina was like, well, why don't you think she wants to move on? And Tamara is like, because she holds grudges. That's why. And it flashes back to Shannon being like, I'm never going to forget what happened to me last year and how she did me. Like, I'm like, where we at, I'm cool with, but I don't ever really want a deep friendship with her. So then we go back to Tamara and Gina. And Gina's talking to Tamara about Jen in the photo. And she was like, Jen is very hurt by you showing that photo, And then they show before they got onto the trip that Jen was telling Gina that, like, girl, I was talking to Emily the other day about the photo, and she was like, it's really pissing me off. Like, I really want to understand why she wanted to show that photo. Like, I just don't get it. And so Tamara was like, it wasn't an ugly photo of her. I just showed the picture because I was just trying to say, like, she doesn't look like herself. And so Gina lies on Heather and says that, well, it was presented to her as a fat photo. And she was like, that is what, and so Tamara's like, is that what Heather presented it as? And she was like, well, yeah. But then when they showed it, when they showed the flashback, Heather basically tells Gina, Tamara says, she wants to be me. So then she shows a picture of Jen. She was heavy, but I wouldn't consider her fat, but she was heavy in the picture, and she was just like, this is her. And I was like, yeah, you can tell that there is a difference. So now Tamara feels like, oh, so Heather was like kind of trying to set me up by saying that, like, it was a fat photo. So she was like, yeah, I can apologize for that. So Gina, like, again, I really do hope that Heather realizes that Emily and Gina are not her friends. Like, they don't like you. Like, they don't care for you, ma'am. Because Heather did not call it a fat photo. She was honest. Jen is heavier in that photo. And that's the reason why Tamara presented it to her in that way. So Tamara is saying that it's unfortunate that she did that, but she was like, you know what, let's go back because I have some things to say. So we actually see the women go inside of the winery, and they're sitting down in this nice area, and they're both all like all of them are like, oh, it's beautiful here. So while they're talking about their walks, they start talking about the picture. So Tamara was like, it was brought to me that, like, you don't still feel like we resolved our issues, Jen. And Jen is like, well, honestly, not really, because of the fatty photo. And Tamara says, I never said it was a fatty photo. And then Jen was like, well, what was the intent behind it? She was like, I was just showing Heather to say, like, you have changed. You are not like who you used to be. And so she was just like, you're different. Like, you were super insecure, you were very timid, and now you're not. And so they go to Jen in the confessional, and she was like, yeah, I've lost a couple of weight, like a few pounds. I'm not as heavy as I used to be. But she was like, that's due to me being in a better place. She was like, I would go and eat my feelings even when I wasn't hungry, because that would fulfill me. So that's how I put on weight. I wasn't happy in my marriage, and that's what it is. So then Tamara says in her confessional, Jen is different. Her boobs are always out. And she was like, I heard that Ryan likes tits on a stick. Like, and so it's giving that. And I mean, it kind of does give that, but who are you to tell her that she's not allowed to change her life or change her appearance that the way she sees fit? Like, I can agree that probably she was eating her feelings, and now that she's in a better place with someone that she's really attracted to, that's attracted to her, that makes her feel good about herself, she probably is going to start to move differently, speak up for herself more. So it doesn't really track. So then she was just like, what it boils down to me, Jen, and this is Tamara, she says, Ryan told me that he was in love with you. I felt gross because 2 months prior to that, we had you and Will over to the house. Eddie even said, like, I feel dirty, and I felt like we look like assholes. But then I love how Shannon said, girl, look in the mirror, because you cheated on Simon with Eddie. Do you not know how you got with your husband, your second husband right now, Tamara? So, girl, hush. So Jen basically says, just show me the photo. So she shows the photo, and she's like, Tamara, that's such bullshit. She was like, if my daughter did that, I would be like, why are you being a little bitch? Like, why would you do that? Like, why would you want to show people that? Like, that's disgusting behavior. So Jen is in the confessional basically saying the only reason why Tamara showed that picture is because she has low self-esteem and she's insecure. Because, like, it made you feel better to put me down. And so then Tamara's like, girl, I apologize to you. I told you why I did what it is. She was like, I don't know what else you want from me other than blood. And so then Jen is like, girl, that's the problem, Tamara. Like, you apologize, but then the behavior is still the same way. She was like, I don't know how we move on from that. Like, I'm just like, it is what it is. So Tamara is just like, I don't get why you just can't move on from it. Like, I don't want to keep going around in circles with you. And so then Shannon gets worked up while they're arguing. And she's like, you know what? You never take accountability for anything, Tamara. Like, you never do it. You go low with everybody. Like, you just go low. Like, you go low with her. You go low with me. You go low with Gina. Like, you go low with everybody, and nobody else goes that low with you. And I said, that's y'all problem. Y'all need to go low with her. Because if I was on that cast, the way that I be telling Tamara about herself, I'd have told that lady, Kate, nobody whose own children don't want to deal with her tell me about myself and mine's. Like, we would be in there arguing. Tamara would not like me because she would want to put hands on me. Like, if you gonna go low with me, I'm gonna go low too. Like, what are we doing? She was like, you go low, you get mad, and then we're just all supposed to act like it's okay. Like, that's what we're supposed to do, and it's not right. And so then Shannon ends up saying, I have no reservations about us being in a relationship. She was like, I'm cool with where we're at. She was like, it's a merry-go-round. She was like, we say we miss each other, we cry, we say I love you, yet and still you're so nasty to me. Like, why would I want to be friends with you? That's when Shannon hits her with my life has been great without you. You haven't been in my life for a year and I've never been better. Gina's like, whoa, maybe we shouldn't say that. But I'm like, sometimes you need to say that to people for them to get it. Like, Tamara thinks she can do whatever she wants because y'all allow her to and y'all accept her. And she's like, okay, Shannon, fine. That's good for you. That's good for you. She's like, okay. But she was like, and then Tamara's like, I'm glad you're happy without me. She was like, yeah. She was like, yeah, girl. She was like, Shannon's like, I don't think you realize how bad it was for me last year. And she was like, and how low I was. And at every chance you got, you kicked me when I was down. So then Tamara ends up saying, but she's like, but Shannon, you do call people when you're drunk and you say some really mean and hateful things. And so Shannon is like, I do. And I'm like, Shannon, you probably do. I mean, I think two things can exist. Shannon probably do get drunk and say some really messed up and hateful things about people. And Tamara was kicking Shannon at her lowest and had no problems stomping on her. Okay. And it's weird that she thinks that Shannon is just going to take her back. So then I think Shannon ends up saying, I'm done with this back and forth. I don't want to keep going back and forth with you. And she ends up saying, I'm not the only one that was, concerned about you. She was like, the only reason why I said those things is because I was worried. And Gina's worried about you, too. So Gina is like, really, bitch? You just gonna throw me under the bus like that? And Shannon is like, are you? And she was like, well, I kind of am. And then the scene goes off right there. So yeah, y'all, that is it. That is all. As always, remember to be bravely authentic. Definitely hop down in them comments below and subscribe. And I'm out, y'all. Deuces.